Hello, this is Jeff Rao from G4GR Resources in Houston. Today we're going to do the second of three videos just to follow up on the pre-planning, and these are going to be tips for your GNSS RTK rover when you're using the CS20. The third one we'll go over if you're using the internet on the GS18. There's a tremendous amount of similarities, but there's some subtle differences. Okay, so once again, if you're in the Houston area, just feel free to reach out. We can help you out with supplies, paint, flagging, all that good stuff. Just a picture of our back office. I'll put our contact information at the end, and just feel free to give us a call. On this video, we're going to go over 9 topics: satellite settings, the APN to get on the internet for your SIM card. And there's a quick setting in there just to tell it it's from 4G only. And then we'll check the firmware versions. So once again, with satellites, it's important to use all 4 constellations. And once that's enabled, if you check the firmware, we really want to be on 7.5. If you have 7.5 firmware or above, the tracking is greatly improved with all the constellations. So it acts like a brand new receiver. We're talking about the new port on Smartnet. It's important to delete your jobs on a regular basis, as it'll free up space, make the CS20 run a lot smoother. And then also quickly talk about how to clean your SIM card. And when your CS20 or GS18 gets older, like 4 or 5 years, it's good to bring it into our service department. Get a quick maintenance, we'll go over that. Then we'll talk about improved performances using base rover with point-to-point and radio. So once again, with satellite tracking, what we want to do is, we'll go to, on the CS20, go to Settings, GS Sensor, Satellite Tracking. Then we come down, the first tab here, Global, will have all the sensors or constellations checked. If it was not purchased, let's say Beidou was not active, then it won't allow you to check this. Give us a call, we can order it, give you a cost, it's a one-time deal, then it's activated and you'll track a bunch more satellites. If you page over to the Advanced tab over here, I'll set a 15-degree cutoff angle. This is very important. The L2C, we found, if you change that from always track to automatic, makes a huge difference. So keep that sitting there. We'll keep it at 15 degrees. 2025, we're in the solar max. If you go to heavy trees, you can bump that down to 10 degrees, but as a default, leave it at 15 degrees. Multipath reduction will kick out noisy satellites automatically. Interference mitigation is an option, and I leave that unchecked. That's very important. Only check that if you're in a tough environment like under power lines or at the airport and you're seeing interference. Okay, so like in the previous video, we had just a plot of the satellites, and on the left-hand side, you can see from 2010 to 2020, more satellites have been put in the sky. And on the right-hand side is the almanac from 2025, and once again, you can see with Beidou we now have 63 satellites. So there's a bunch more satellites up there, and that's had a huge impact on tracking in tougher environments. So once again, here's a plot of all the satellites in the Houston area for March of 2025, all 4 constellations with the different colors. And if we focus directly in on Beidou, you can see it adds in from 6 to 10 satellites. And this Beidou option really helps improve tracking in tough environments, combined with the latest firmware version. All right, let's take a quick look. The next topic is APN, Access Point Name. This is your ability to get on the internet. So in this video that we're going to do today, we're going to use the first one, broadband. It's just a SIM card directly from AT&T directly. If you get your SIM card from Smartnet, and it's a Smart Connect SIM card, the M2M005125.att is what you want to use. If you get your SIM card directly through Verizon, use the VZW Internet. And once again, we can help you now with the DAC multi-carrier. It hops on 3 carriers. It first came out, the APN was lowercase TN1. End of 2024, they updated to capital DAC. So you make sure you use that APN. If you use a DAC card, it improves getting on the internet. And once again, you can get a static IP. This is really important. This is for a GS18, and this will not work in the CS20. So if you're doing point-to-point, that static IP SIM card only works in the GS18 sensor. It can work as a base, but you can then run the internet through the GS18, which we'll do on the next video, to access Smartnet as well, but this SIM card will not work in the actual CS20. So once again, if you do have that static SIM card, we want to use the S001, and we want to use that APN. And if you move around different parts of the country, put the other APNs. So the Midwest would be MW01 if you're like in Chicago. Okay. All right. So once again, to update the APN, it'll be under the settings, connections, all other connections, and the first tab. We'll go through this on the video, but this is just a quick screenshot to show you where to dig deep to find it. And oops, already did that. And once again, at G4, we can help with the DAC multi-carrier SIM card. So once again, you have access to 3 networks, and we can generate that here and give it to you and then set it up on your receiver. So it's just a service that we offer. And that, once again, that'll help minimize dead spots, because there are some dead spots with Verizon and AT&T, so you sort of get the best of all 3 worlds. Okay. All right. There's also in the video, we'll go over under the modem setting, under the APN, we'll toggle it from automatic to say just pick up 4G LTE when we're in the US, because that's really important. And this is one setting we'll go over in the video. Okay, so let's take a quick look now. We have the CS20, and
okay, we have the CS20 here, and what we're going to do, if I hit the star key, I've got a hotkey for work style. In this case, we're using a 1 IMAX. So let's take a quick look at some settings to help improve our productivity. Like we talked about, it's good to do the IMAX. The near is, we can switch to the near in cases if a solar max is occurring, or if you're in areas where there's not a bunch of base stations, like on the outskirts of the network. What we're going to do is take a quick look at the satellite settings. So I'm going to come down to settings, GS sensor, satellite tracking, and once again we're going to activate all of these 4 constellations. If the constellation has not been purchased, we can always purchase that based on the serial number, upload the license key, and then activate. And as we talked about earlier, we did the pre-planning with Beidou. That's like another 8 to 10 satellites to improve tracking near trees and tougher environments. We're going to page over to advanced, and once again do a 15-degree cutoff angle. It's pretty handy to use this during 2025 with the solar max, cut out the low-lying satellites. Once again, you can adjust this when you go to trees to bump it down to 10 degrees. It's important to L2C, set that to automatic or default to always track. This helps improve the tracking capabilities, especially in 2025 with the solar max. And once again, the multipath reduction will knock out any noisy or overlapping satellites to help increase the accuracy and performance. Interference mitigation is an option. Leave that unchecked. Only put that on in cases where you're getting interference, like at an airport or transmission lines, but only put that on when you're being interfered with, and turn it off. If you leave it on as a default, it can cause some issues. Okay, so that's the satellite tracking. Now if we hit settings, connections, all other connections, once again under CS connection, we'll have CS internet. So we'll highlight that. If I hit the control button, this will be the APN that we type in. And right now we're running a SIM card that is based off of AT&T. So we have broadband. If I was using the new multi-carrier card, I'd put in capital DAC for DAC. Sometimes there's the older APN of TN1. Now I'm just going to keep that on broadband because we have to have the right APN. And once again, in this case, we're running an AT&T card. What I'm going to do is page over, and the third tab is advanced. See, it says automatic. I want to change that to 4G LTE. This helps improve the ability to get on the internet. And once again, if it's automatic, we just want to tell it, hey, just focus on the 4G LTE in case it's seeing a 5G signal. So we'll hit OK, and then it'll just disconnect. See, when disconnected from the internet, we'll have a triangle up there. So it should cycle back through, get on the internet, and then we can dial into the network. Okay. If I click on here, go to internet status, there'll be a checkbox and it sees the SIM card and is going through, then it should hop on the internet in like another 10-15 seconds. Okay, so it says connected to the internet. If we click on here, internet status, device, it'll show AT&T and the percentage. If you have the DAC card, that's another way to check, and it'll tell you if you're on AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile. Okay, so that's a real handy tool. Okay, so once again, we talked about under Smartnet, there's two ways we can take a look and check the new port number. We did have some third-party RTK rovers that when they use the old port 10,000 had some issues. So once again, if I hit settings, connections, other connections, and once again, if we page over to the GS connection tab, and then RTK rover, if we hit edit, I have CS Internet 1 because we're getting the internet on the CS20, RTCM3. I'll check this box, receive network information shown log. So if you're within like a couple miles of base station, it might come up and say, hey, I'm reverting to a single baseline. Don't worry about it. It's just telling you, hey, you're too close to the base station. That's also handy because if someone was using your username and password, it'll say too many concurrent users, and that's very handy. Now, in here, when that's highlighted, hit F4 control, and this shows our network, Smartnet, and I'll edit. So we have the server name is Smartnet, and we want tx.smartnetna.com. If we went to Louisiana, we just changed the first two letters from TX to LA. And here's where we type in 9301. If you page over to Ntrip, then this is where your username and password's typed in, and we'll hit OK. And then what we want to do is have the right mount point. So if that was blank and we're on the internet, hit the source button, and that's where we pick the IMAX for IMAX, near for single baseline, and VRS. Okay, if you're doing a VRS. And once again, if we hit edit here, page over, RTK network, this is doing IMAX, we pick the IMAX. If you're doing near, you hit the nearest. Okay. All right. So I just want to show you how to quickly update to 9301. That's the new port number. I can also click on the cell phone, go to server mount point, and if we click on here, edit, it's the same procedure for updating the port number. And once that's done, we can hit the source. So there's a couple ways to access that. Okay. All right. So once again, with version 8.5, they improved the firmware capability. If you were in areas where the internet was getting weak, it would shut the modem off. So if you have older firmware versions, sometimes you got a power cycle to kick it off to reacquire a signal, internet signal. Another quick way to do it is if you're seeing it come in and out and it's dropping internet and it's a little bit jumpy, we can hit settings, connections, other connections. And what we'll do is on the first tab, I can just go in here, hit edit, and uncheck this box. Say just don't use the internet. Then I'll hit the home key, and that'll kick me off the internet. Okay, and if I escape back out, to the main screen, and then once again the yellow triangle comes off the internet, then I'll just go back in, hit settings, connections, other connections, and then go to CS Internet again, and then once again check it, use the CS modem, hit OK, and that's sort of power cycles, and so if you are using firmware that's older than 8.5, that's a quick way to power cycle your SIM card, and just to try to see if you can get back on the internet if you're in areas where the internet service is kind of weak. Okay, so hit OK, and once again we get the yellow triangle up there, we're not on the internet status, and once again it's coming down, then it'll get on the internet here pretty fast. Okay, so it's a quick way to power cycle it. Once again, we have a video on deleting jobs. If you have a whole bunch of jobs, it'll bog everything down, and things won't act right. So it's always important to back up your jobs and delete it to free up the space. And once again, what's nice, if you have 8.3 or higher, we can hit settings, tools, format, and in here there's a backup button. So everything's good, we can hit backup. That'll back up all our settings to the internal memory.
Okay, let's just move on to the next subject. So that's a quick overview with the data collector. It's really important to check the firmware version. Um, Once again, as we said earlier, you have to be on the same level. So if your sensor's on version 7, your controller has to be on version 7 as well. So if you had version 8 loaded on your sensor and version 7 on your controller, then it'd be a firmware incompatibility. We'd recommend to get at least 7.51 on the controller. And if you have GS16 or GS14 Viva, 7's lined up with 11, so you have to be on 11.5. And then there was an issue with the GS18. I'll put another video up later on, but when you go to My World, there's a 7.8, and you want to have every version of 8, because what happened was a Y2K, like a time error that happened at the end of 2024, so tilt stopped working. So you can see it's 7.8 and 8.8. These 0.80 firmware versions have to be loaded to enable tilt. So even if you're on version 5, go to My World, there'll be a 5.8. We need to load that firmware version to match up. So once again, to harness the performance, we want to have at least 7.5 firmware version on the CS20, 7.8 on the GS18. Combined with all 4 constellations makes a huge difference. And once again, the latest version is version 9. We'll talk briefly about some other improvements on these firmware versions. And once again, there's a video, so I put a link down here. So once again, it was April 1st, 2021, how to load firmware to a GS18. So if you download 7.8 and want to know how to load that on your GS18, just watch this video. I'll probably redo this and add another one in the future. Okay, so once again, firmware compatibility, the latest version is version 9. We recommend that. But once again, if you're on 7.5 with all the constellations, it's a huge jump, even from 7.0 for your performance. So we recommend, if you're older than 7.5, get a firmware update, and you'll see a remarkable improvement in the performance of your rover. So here's just some quick notes. So once again, this is what we talked about, this 30% expected improvement when you go to 7.5, okay? We soar higher than that. So once again, just want to highlight that. Once again, in version 8.0, they made improvements for base rover at shorter range, okay, under 10 kilometers. And 8.5, there's improved tracking or ability of the CS modem to for internet connectivity. It power cycled behind the scenes instead of the procedure I showed you in the earlier video. And so once again, 8.5 is a really good firmware version to get your CS20 on. And version 9 came out, and 9.1 just came out. There's a few issues with version 9, so if you're running version 9, update to 9.1, and it allows N-trip, which we did a video on as well, if you're running like a drone for point-to-point. Okay? All right. Another neat thing with 8.5 is there is a status bar with your GS18. So when we move it around, it'll tell you how good your tilt is. And see down here, if I just moved it just for a few seconds, it's orange. And the more you move it, then it'll progress over here. So you can ensure you got really good tilt. And it's like a fuel tank. So what we recommend now is when you are initialized off RTK, just move it forward, left and right, 3 or 4 times, and you'll see it'll turn green and you'll see your status bar. This will cook it, make the bar level go up. And once again, just do that 3-4 times vigorously, like a 30-degree tilt, left, right, backwards, forwards, and boom, this progress bar is just a really neat feature with 8.5. So we strongly recommend that. And they use this technique. In the past, I told people walk 30 feet, but you can just sort of move this around, left, right, forward, back, and away you go. Okay. So once again, the new port, we went over that in the video. We can just click on that icon, go to the server mount point. There's the name of our server. And once again, the mount point we want msn.imax. So if we hit F3 edit, we can edit that server, make sure the address port number is good. And then at the bottom, F4 is source, and we want MSN. So port 9300, if you don't have the MSN IMAX, if you went to the old port 10,000 and use the old RTCM IMAX, it's just GPS and GLONASS, and it defeats the purpose because you're not getting all the constellation corrections coming across. So that's why it's really important. to use that 9301. Once again, we have another video about Smartnet settings. Once again, it's January 21st. We put it up this year. Here's the name of it. Just go take a quick peek if you want to dig a little bit deeper into this topic. Once again, like we talked about earlier, the most important thing is on your CS20 is to free up space. So back up your jobs regularly. I say at least once a month or maybe every Friday, and then delete them. And we've got some videos here. Once again, there's a title name, and it was done March 30th, 2021. It's incredible. It's got 43, 48 views. So this is one of the most popular videos that I've done. And it's really, really important. This is the most important thing to do to make your CS20 run smooth. And also, you can format a CS20. So this is important as well. It's got 2,000 views. So once again, take a look. Here's the dates. Go back on my YouTube channel. Take a look at these. I'm going to add another one because there's some neat features with 8.5 and how you can back it up and format it. So I'll put another one up in the next few weeks to be another good resource. But this is really, really critical to keep your CS20 running smoothly and efficiently. What I'd recommend is at least once a year, just pull out from the CS20, just pull the batteries in where the battery is, put the black flap up, and then you can slide that little crossbar up towards the screen, and then it'll pivot. Just be careful, and you can slide out the SIM card. And sometimes the contacts here will get be like humidity or get dirty. So it's important first to take like a pencil or an eraser and rub vigorously on this just to clean off any film or debris. And then after you've done the eraser, just get like a Q-tip with some rubbing alcohol just to clean that. I reckon do that every 6 to 8 months. Also inspect the contacts. After a certain amount of time, you'll get scratches and like maybe after 4 or 5 years, it's a good idea just to go get a new physical SIM card and swap it out. But it's important just to do this. It makes a huge difference, especially in the Houston area with our heat and humidity. Okay, and with our service department, it's really important. I'd say when your CS20 gets to an age like 4 to 5 years, bring it in. We can do a quick service. It's approximately $400. Here's a list of what we do. Basically, Ronald will take it apart. He'll change he'll re-screw the screws down because sometimes the glue after 4 or 5 years will start failing and the screws will come loose, and we don't want that to hit another board and have a board issue or board failure. So he'll re-screw these screws, replace the gasket, replace the screen protector, clean it up, and just really important because sometimes these units really take a battering in the field. So we'd recommend that 4 to 5 years to have a quick maintenance. And once again, we'll have our contact information for Ronald and Stacy at the end. Same with the GS18, maybe 4 to 5 years, we can bring it in. Ronald can check, because there were some cases where on the original first generation GS18s, especially using the antennas, some of the antenna connectivities connectors were getting loose, and if anything like a washer came out, and you don't want that to hit the board. So once again, we can bring that in every 4 to 5 years. Ronald can swap out the gaskets, check those connectivities, and he can also do a tilt calibration on that too. So if you notice that you rotate your rod and check a point is off a little bit, if it's over like 1/10 of a foot, bring it in. Ronald can do it because sometimes these things get banged around and the IMU needs to be recalibrated. So that's what we want to do there. Once again, as we talked about pushing the capabilities, we can do point-to-point. We have a static IP at the base station, have a rover, and with all the constellations and the shorter baseline, you'll have a really increase in accuracy and performance next to trees. And we can do point-to-point with a SIM card or use the radio as well. Okay. Now we have a whole bunch of other videos to dig a little bit deeper into that. So once again, here's just an overview with the dates on. So just there's a whole playlist on point-to-point and radios. So go take a peek at these to dig a little bit deeper. And just real fast, this is a quick video showing we have a. Let me just turn the volume down. So we have a GPS unit, and this is the rover that's tracking off the point-to-point. So right now it's kind of hard to see the glare, but we're tracking, if we click on satellites, we're tracking all 4 constellations here, okay? And so we have 30, possible 28, and now this is a point that's actually in the trees here that we're staking out. It's known point, so you can see when we run this, take a look at the vertical and how well it's holding over the next 10 seconds. And this is the cut and fill and the delta northern, delta eastern of this point in the trees back here. And once again, we're doing point to point. So once again, see the vertical's holding really steady. We're staking that point out. And this just shows the repeatability and the accuracy and the performance in trees when we're doing point to point or have the latest firmware. And once again, we're now on the internet. So once again, the other videos will do a deeper dive, but just want to show you that when you do have the latest firmware, use these tips. It really helps to improve your accuracy and performance, whether you're doing point to point or on the network. All right. Once again, here's a picture of our teams. Myself, John handles support and scanning. And once again, we talk about service. So Ronald does the service, and Stacy helps Ronald out with scheduling everything. And Logan and Ray work in construction. Here's our address here. And once again, here's all our information. So if you want to schedule service, like we talked about for your GS18 or CS20, contact Stacy, contact myself or John for sales, for scanning or surveying or GPS. And Ray and Logan will work in the construction for icon and rotating laser levels. So we appreciate your support, but we need your support as well to do these videos. So if you're in the Houston area, please reach out to us. We'd love to help you out. Appreciate your time. Hope you found this beneficial.